Welcome to the Elevate Your Brand podcast, where we help online coaches learn how to elevate their brand, become the experts in their industries so they can bring in more clients and create a life they want. I am your host, Chris Anderson. And if you want to make a difference in the lives of others, share this episode, go over to Apple Podcasts and follow us there to leave a positive rating and review. And together we can leave a bigger positive mark on the world. All right, welcome back to another recording of Elevate Your Brand. I'm Chris Anderson, and today we're going to be talking about creating a strong brand for your video podcast. And I'm just going to give you some tips and strategies so you can do that and build something really strong that people remember and like and want to gravitate towards. So it's important to build a strong brand because there is so much noise out there in the marketplace. Creating a strong brand is going to help you cut through that noise and get to your ideal customers faster so you can grow your business, help more people, and build that life you want. So your brand is the overall perception. It's what people think of when they hear your brand's name. It's what they see out in the marketplace. It's what separates you again from those other individuals or brands that are kind of doing the same thing you are. So it cuts through that noise, again, like I mentioned at the beginning. It's the emotional and functional association that people make with your brand, with your content, your style, how you approach things, how you talk, how you sound. It builds that trust by them being able to hear and see you through your video content. This helps you create a loyal and engaged audience and following that then you can nurture and help along their journeys. So when building a strong video brand online, here are some things that you want to consider. You want to define your target audience. Now you might have heard of niching down and things of that nature, and that's basically what this is. You want to define who you're speaking to, what makes them tick, why they're trying to seek the solution that you solve. What problems do they have, but what's holding them back? You've got to understand that, at least in a general sense, but the better you know who you're trying to help, the easier it is to communicate what you have for them and the solution to their problems. So then you want to create that unique positioning statement. This is something that's unique to your brand that sets you apart from your marketplace and explains what you do, who you are, and how you help. With your video podcast in mind, this just sets you apart from all the other video shows that might be doing something similar, but they're not you and they're not going to have the same approach to that problem. This also helps your audience know what to expect when they come to your channel or tune into your podcast episodes. So for example, if you were a podcast that were talking to finance individuals, you could say this podcast is for young professionals who are looking to overcome financial challenges and achieve financial success. So that separates who you're helping, specifically target who you're helping, young professionals, what you help them do, overcome financial obstacles and achieve financial success. So it clearly states what your podcast, what your video podcast is all about. And then building a strong brand comes down to your name as well. So Elevate Media Group, we help your brand elevate in their markets. That just is a clear picture of what we do. We help you grow. We help you become more successful. So your name also needs to be catchy, but it also needs to be clear to your audience what it is that you do, especially if you're just starting out. Because the last thing you want them to do is get confused and try to figure out what your title or your name means. And they're going to move on to something that's just clear and simple, because the name clearly states what you're about and who you help and how you help them, which then goes into your unique statement, positioning statement. So it all flows together. You don't want any roadblocks with your name or your positioning statement. For example, when I started out on my entrepreneurship journey, my show was called Pencil Leadership. And I wanted to help people start their businesses. But pencil leadership was a roadblock. It was an obstacle in my journey to build a business. People would get stuck on that thinking, oh, it's just about leadership. It's about becoming a better leader. And that was part of it, but that wasn't the resounding reason I started it or the main reason for it. So that became more of a focal point of what is pencil leadership and having to explain that over and over instead of making it clear, a clear pathway to what it is I do and who I help. And of course, then you want to make a clear, concise logo, content style, coloring, all that wants to match. And again, keep it simple. And you've got to remember when you're starting your video podcast, any logo you create or artwork for your show looks great on the big screen, but you gotta design it in mind that when it shrinks down to phone size, when people are scrolling or even on YouTube when they're looking at channels, it's got to be legible. easy to read, clear, concise, and not many different pieces on it. So you want, your main title, maybe your tagline, and then a picture, something to grab the attention. But keep it simple, keep it clear, keep the text big, because that, again, is your brand's name, and that's what's going to draw people to your show, because it's going to basically be a road sign saying this is what the show's going to be about at a high level. So that's why it's important when you're building out the artwork and logo and content style that it stays the same, but it's also another clear pathway towards where you're trying to lead people to. And in creating a strong brand, you have to have a presence. You have to be seen. You have to be known to grow a business. So you can't just create it and then hope people come because you've created the business. You've got to get out there into the marketplace, whether that be Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn, wherever that is for you. You've got to be there, and you've got to post your content. You've got to interact with other people to bring value. Just recording your videos aren't enough. You could record your video, put it on YouTube, have great SEO, and you would grow slowly. But if you're out there engaging, if you're out there drawing people back to your channel through your social media content or your blogs or your collaborations, which we'll talk about here in a second, that's going to grow you faster. So you've got to have that process and utilize those platforms to continue to build a strong brand. And it's not a one and done thing either. You can't just create it, post it once, and everything will be hunky dory. It's going to take consistent and persistent effort to continue to grow. It's not just going to happen overnight. All these overnight successes that you think you see, you don't see the work and all that goes into it behind the scenes, the years that they put into building something successful. So you just see the high level of their success. You don't see what they went through in the trenches. So you've got to understand being consistent and persistent with your brand, focusing on that one singular thing that you helped solve, and focusing on that one singular thing you helped solve is going to take time. So don't get discouraged. Don't give up. Just stay consistent and persistent with it. Move forward. Just continue doing it, grow and improve as you do it, and you'll start to see those signs and reap the benefits of that consistency. So to wrap things up, basically, when you're creating that strong brand, you have to understand who you're helping. You have to have a clear reason behind what you're doing so people don't question it and they understand exactly who you're there to help and how. And then you've got to create a seamless flow from your recordings all the way down to what you offer. So you don't want your name or your logo or your style to detract or block that pathway to the solution that you have for this target audience. So keeping it simple, keeping it linear, keeping the flow moving along is going to keep things simple for your audience and help you grow a more consistent business. And then just staying consistent and persistent with what you're doing and staying focused on that one thing, and don't chase all the shiny objects and move from one thing to the other. Just stick with what you know you can do to help somebody, and just take one step at a time, one day at a time, and continue to improve over and over. And it's really who can stay at it longest will succeed. As long as you have things set up correctly and you're solving an issue, if you stick with it long enough, you'll be able to succeed.
And thanks so much for tuning into this episode today. If you found value at all from this episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It just helps us get this show, these messages out in front of more people. And don't forget to share this with someone who you think could benefit from listening to as well.